holidays of many cultures approach, for me, that means that I'm going to make an excessive number of desserts, probably give most of those away so that I don't get giant fat during the winter months. The first recipe I'm going to tackle today is chocolate covered coconut macaroons. I may or may not do the chocolate part. I'm not particularly good with chocolate sauces or glazes or things like that, but I'm going to give it a shot. At any rate, the coconut macaroons by themselves are amazing, and so I'm going to walk you through how I approach that. So the first step obviously is to have a recipe. I got this one from Bon Appetit. It's good. One thing I'd point out is that it lists one ingredient, but for whatever reason, maybe it was in color or something and I printed in black, or my ink cartridge was low or whatever, but there's nothing there. So I don't know what that is. So we're just gonna pretend like it doesn't exist. I've made these several times before and without whatever the missing ingredient is, and they were great anyway. So we're gonna go ahead and get started on that and then talk about the ingredients. These are all the ingredients and things that I'll need to make these macaroons. I always want to say macarons, and they're not the French president, nor are they the cookie. But anyway, so what we've got here is about 3 cups of the shredded coconut. The recipe calls for 6 large eggs. I'm not sure if you would characterize these as large or not. So I got 7. This is the chocolate chips, about 3 ounces for the glaze. I've got 3/4 cup of sugar. I've got my heavy whipping cream. I don't need much of that, but there it is. Then I've got my vanilla extract, my almond extract, my spoon, and then I've got the parchment paper for actually baking them on the cookie sheet. And then I've got a bowl, because once you get the coconut goo ready to go, got to put it somewhere. And then I'm going to cook the initial coconut mixture in my my pot there. All right, so the first step in this is that it requires the egg whites only, and so we got to do that. And I think an important aspect about cooking is to not let the ingredients know that you're afraid of them. And so part of the whole cooking process is really just to kind of avoid that kind of nervousness, and to be kind of in a place where you feel good about doing what you're doing. And that really helps avoid disasters. It's also important to be present when you are cooking, because in my experience, you know, cooking, following the instructions is pretty straightforward. But if you are spacing off or trying to do too many things at once, then you can really get into trouble pretty quick. So I'm gonna bring this over a little closer so y'all can see. So I've got my eggs in there. And then, you know, you see the people fiddle around with the separating the egg whites and things like that. But I'm going to just kind of fish them out instead. And I'll just kind of fish the yolks out. And, you know, if I'm losing some egg white a little bit, well, I've got 7 eggs instead of 6, so probably in pretty good shape. And one of them broke, but whatever. You know. And it looks like I actually have some egg white kind of sitting in here, which is probably why it would have been better to do it the way that most people do. But I'm going to do this. I'll just strain this stuff out and call it good. Some of cooking too is just kind of winging certain aspects of it to a degree. Like sometimes like missing an ingredient on this recipe. I don't know what they want, and I read the recipe and it doesn't really mention what that might be, so maybe it's not important. However, I suspect that it's probably a pinch of salt. That would be seemingly something that would work, and that ability to kind of wing that stuff comes from an element of being able to improvise. Google's your friend too. One time I was making something and I didn't have any vegetable oil. Well, Google substitutes for that, and I found out that you can use a banana for that. Boom, done. Did it mess anything up? Nope. Did they taste pretty much the same? Sure did. So that kind of stuff, just getting to a spot with cooking where you feel comfortable with being able to do that kind of thing is important. We've got our egg whites now, and we'll move on to the next step. All right, so now we are ready to get everything cooking. And so the first thing that we want to do is get the, there we go. And so this calls for medium heat. My stove runs a little hot, so I'm going to turn it down to about 4. We'll get everything going. So first thing, got our coconut. Next, egg whites. Next, sugar. And so at this point, what we're going to do is just continuously stir this over that medium heat until it gets into kind of a pasty texture. All right, so I noticed that as I'm blending this stuff up, that it was getting a little soupy, which the heat will burn off some of the water, but so probably because I put the extra egg white in there, it needed a little bit more dry ingredients, so I just kind of eyeballed it and threw in some more coconut and some more sugar. And incidentally, I'm stirring this for about 12 minutes. We've gotten to the point where it is done, so we can turn off the heat and move this over to get it off the heat. And what you can see is it's actually a little whiter here because I'm shooting with a variety of light, but it kind of looks like sauerkraut in a way, but it's pretty mushy. And so what the recipe calls for now is to add a little bit of almond extract, and it's got a measurement, but I'm just gonna kind of wing it. And that's probably enough. And then a little bit of vanilla extract, which is harder to get off one-handed. Oh, I got it. Hashtag winning. So a little bit of that, and then stir that in. And then what it calls for is to spread it out on a cookie sheet and let it refrigerate for a while. So I'm gonna do that. Okay, so I've got our cooked coconut, egg, sugar mixture on the baking sheet, and now it calls for me to refrigerate it for about 45 minutes. We'll be right back. One thing you can do in these interim periods of cooking different things and putting things together while you've got some dead time is to clean as you go. Way easier than waiting to the end, and then it also allows you to immediately eat whatever it is you made and not worry about cleaning it up, and not worry about cleaning it up after you ate. So this is a great move, something that I really try to do all the time. So I'm sure it would be really exciting for you to watch me do dishes, but I'm gonna do that now. I know I said I wasn't gonna show doing dishes, but I wanted to show you this cooking pan after cooking that coconut stuff. It's left this kind of like rock candy like stuff at the bottom. It wasn't burnt, but it's some sticky stuff, so it's kind of hard to get off. Something that often happens when you're cooking is that you have to pay the cheese tax. Our coconut stuff is cooled off, And so it's time to start making the cookies. And the first thing we need to do is preheat the oven to 300 and then start making the cookies. So, oh, one thing. So this is parchment paper, and you know, it's not something that if you're just a regular person that you think, oh, I need to buy this all the time. But it really does come in handy for stuff like this. Would tinfoil work? Maybe, I don't know. But parchment paper is mentioned in this recipe, so I have some, so I'm gonna use it. So what the recipe says is to kind of form this stuff into little, about 1 inch tall kind of pieces, 1.5 maybe. So, and it's supposed to be like a little pyramid. I'm actually making kind of Mayan pyramids instead of Egyptian pyramids because I like the Mayans better than the Egyptians. So anyway, I am going to put these all out on the parchment and be back with you here in a sec. As you can see, I have formed my 15 coconut Mayan pyramids, and they're on the parchment sheet and they're ready to put in. You might ask yourself, you know, can I eat some of this stuff? You absolutely can, because it's great. So I'm gonna put them into the oven now. Are these like perfectly formed barefoot Contessa type of cookies? No, they are not. That's not my jam. And so I'm just rolling with what I've got, and I'm sure they'll be good. So now they're in there. I'm gonna put them kind of in the middle. My oven runs a little hot, and it's better to use center it up too. So discovered after some periods of time. It's macaroon time. There they are in their glory. So the next step is going to be, we got to let them rest for a while, and then I'm going to make the try to make the chocolate glaze stuff, and we'll see how that turns out. So that'll be next. All right, so now it is time to try to make the chocolate glaze. And so what that calls for is the chocolate that we talked about earlier, a little bit of the cream, about 6 tablespoons, and I'm gonna get all that stuff in there, and then we'll start doing that. And so we're gonna put about 6 tablespoons in, maybe a little extra, because what the hell. All right, so now I'm gonna put this on medium, and I'm gonna stir this stuff until it either self-combusts or turns into what we want. No fear. It looks like it's coming along okay. We're getting a fairly good mixture here, and it doesn't look like it's going to turn over and turn black and horribly ruin everything. So that's a good thing. I'm gonna put a little bit more milk in it, or whipping cream. And I think we're just about there. I'm gonna put a little bit more milk in it. I want it to be a little runnier than it is. Sorry about that. I am cooking something else at the same time as I'm shooting this chocolate exercise. All right, that really feels like it should be runny enough for our coconut macaroons, and so I'm gonna take it off. Okay, so now we're ready to give this a shot. So we're gonna, I put the macaroons on a wire rack, and that's over a cooking sheet, so that way I don't make a huge mess all over my counter. So far, it looks like this is working out pretty good. Maybe not quite as runny as I would like, but it is what it is. Got one left over here in the corner. And let's see. We'll get some more of this and just kind of splatter it around on some of the ones that didn't get as much. Are these like perfect and flawlessly done? No, but are they gonna taste really good? Yeah, they are. We know this. So that's done. And then what's kind of neat is I got these kind of like crispy bits from the rest. So we'll put a little bit of that here and there. Oh, this one needs some more chocolate on it. There we go. So kind of scatter that around. That'll be a nice touch. And, you know, adds a layer of class to the whole situation, I would say, right? You know, we're always classy around here. So, got the rest of these. Put them around, and then basically what I need to do is stick them in the fridge and let them completely cool down so that that stuff sets.